John McCoy and Steve Mackey.
And on Nine's Wide World of Sports, we welcome you once more to the Logan City Lanes, situated between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, for the Coca-Cola Classic. The first time in the men's tournament, the Sandgropers make their appearance, and Steve Windbridge does battle with David Hardy of Queensland. Well, Steve, you've been able to sit back and watch David in a few of his victories. How have you summed up his play so far?
He's been bowling well so far today, but he's up against a tough opponent now.
Well, we've been watching you in practice and you've done well. You're confident?
I'm very confident, thanks.
21-year-old Steve Windbridge is from Western Australia. His high game is 286 with a high series of 750. Included in his victories were the 1985 Fairlanes Grand Slam, and in 1986 he took out the Geraldton Cup and the Perth Cup. Confidence from the Western Australians. What about from the Queensland point of view, David?
Oh, yeah, I'm starting to get used to being here, so, well, we'll see what happens.
You've got the advantage of having played a few games, although it's tougher when you're further down the draw. You have to keep on winning, but you've got the advantage of those few games under your belt. You should have worked the lanes out.
Yeah, I've got the lanes worked out. I'm getting used to the lights and things. So I'm fairly confident, yes.
David Hardy has been in great form throughout this tournament. He's 23 years of age, from Kippering in Queensland. He has a highest game of 289 and a high series over 3 games of 792, and was a finalist in the 1986 South Pacific Classic. So 2 young bowlers, both with tremendous amount of talent. Steve Windbridge of Western Australia, who'll bowl first, and David Hardy of Queensland. And with Steve Mackey here in the commentary position is Terry Winban, one of the favourites for the tournament, who had a pretty quick exit. Welcome back to the commentary position. Terry, I don't think you really wanted to be here at this stage, did you?
No, I didn't. Not at all. Not at all.
Well, that's not the start that Steve Windbridge was looking for. He gives himself a lot of work to do to get his spare in the opening frame.
Yes, a nervous opening for Steve Windbridge. Looking forward to big things from him. We've seen it spared a couple of times already. Let's see if Steve can spare the washout.
And did it brilliantly. Well, as you saw in the pre-match interviews, he was extremely confident that he was going to bring to an end the run of David Hardy, who's won 3 on the trot, and that's a great way to start. So a spare in the first to the flamboyant Steve Windbridge of Western Australia. Now David Hardy's first appearance for this match.
Gone back to an outside line. What a ball that was!
Well, as he said, is also that he had the lanes worked out. He knew the line he wanted, and he was spot on.
Hey, look at the pin action here.
And that on lane 12, which, remembering back when we saw Terry in action, was the lane, Terry, that gave you all of the problems.
Yes, I had a lot of problems with lane 12. It's a little bit drier and the ball doesn't finish as hard on there. Not with the type of ball I was using anyway. But Dave's bowling very well and very confidently.
So across to lane 11, his second frame.
Looks good.
What a start. Well, there's big prize money in this tournament. Of course, the men's winner will take away $2,000, and both the men's and ladies' winners will be flying to America with Qantas, the Spirit of Australia, to compete in that big tournament in Las Vegas next year, which carries prize money of $1 million US. But if somebody can pull off the perfect game, a 300 game, and then there's $5,000 as a bonus from the Goldpin setters. Well, David Hardy is on target at the moment.
And he's disappeared out of sight. This man is wild when he's on the lanes. He was a wild brand, firebrand when he was a junior bowler, and he's developed as he's got older. It's good to watch.
Knocked a pie out of a bloke's hands up in the bleachers, I think, after that strike. However, he's been brought back into business. Be some lengthy games when Steve Windbridge is in action.
We've got to find him for the next frame.
Yes. We've got a few black trackers employed anyway to keep tabs on him.
Good boy, Steve Windbridge, bringing the crowd alight here at Logan City Lanes, and what a double to do it. The crowd behind the Queenslander now as he comes up for frame 3.
Showing his muscles. I guess if he's going to wear socks like that, he's got to have something going for him. But he started tremendously well. And has this game brought the crowd to life? His division will be flying to America to compete in a high roller tournament in Las Vegas, which carries overall prize money of $1 million American. Their return trip will be with the Spirit of Australia, Qantas.
Still alive for $5 grand.
Well, that's a full bagger for David Hardy. And is the $5,000 in danger?
Well, I don't know.
Another 8 of those is what's needed.
Yes, that's for sure. But I don't know who put those chairs so close, but they may well get moved past somewhat in the next few shots.
Well, what a great game. Steve Windbridge comes back at the top of the 4th. 2 strikes of his own to build on. David Hardy starting perfectly. The 4-bagger.
Trouble. Big trouble.
Well, we saw him produce some magic early on in the first frame. Now he's got to reproduce it.
Well, Terry, the story on that ball by Steve.
Well, I think both bowlers are bowling pretty much purely on confidence. They're really hyped up. They're really charging at the line. They're really trying to get something together. That's a very difficult spare.
Well, he cut his losses. Just took out the 2 pins. They could prove vital towards the end.
Yes, he tried to bounce the pin back on the pin deck there, and he sped up. Trying to gee himself up now to come back.
So that open frame means that Steve Windbridge 75, the end of the 4th. Of course, David Hardy has 60 at the completion of the 2nd, with his perfect score so far.
That looks better.
Bad luck. I don't think he could have asked for a better delivery than that, and simply bad luck that he wasn't able to pull off the strike.
Yes, that was a very good shot. But again, his momentum, I think that split slowed his momentum up. He has to keep the ball getting down the lane pretty quickly. So that was to be a little bit expected. He's got to keep his momentum up.
And showing total contempt for the 10-pin that dared to stand in his way. Steve Windbridge sitting down now for a couple of minutes to contemplate his future in this tournament. David Hardy with it all in front of him now. He's not only looking at a win in this game and a chance to meet Tom Curry of Queensland, but also $5,000.
Oh, bad luck. The $5,000 is safe.
Well, it had no right to be safe. That was an excellent ball. Look at this pin action. 2 pins, a chance to hit that 7-pin, but neither of them did. He's certainly got lane 12 worked out.
Means that at the completion of the 3rd frame, the score stood at 89 to 66, a 23-pin lead to David Hardy of Queensland. Now at the bottom of the 5th. No mistake for his spare. So it's 109 to 75 at the completion of the 4th. 34-pin lead.
Yes, he lost a bit of balance going up to the foul line then, but covered the pin in the middle. Let's see if we can get back to a sensible situation here. 34 pins the difference. And David Hardy now trying to come back after a disappointing 5th frame. He's getting excellent crowd support here at Logan City Lanes. But not enough to carry that 5-pin. It was a pretty weak shot on the first ball. Got to the line early, Terry.
Yes, he did. He put that ball down very early. I think he's rushing his shot now. He needs to concentrate hard on this spare.
Well, we've seen the 5-pin missed a couple of times already in the women's tournament, but not this time. Incidentally, we've got a big match coming up in the women's division. The women's division giant killer, Jo Ellen Day, comes up against her toughest opponent in Jeanette Baker-Flynn in our next women's game.
Yes, that'll be a tremendous match. The well-qualified Jeanette Baker-Flynn, one of the best bowlers that this country has certainly ever produced, against a young lass with a tremendous amount of talent, Jo Ellen Day. And she, in the women's division, is emulating the performances of her fellow Queenslander, David Hardy, in the men's division.
Oh, bad shot by Steve. Very bad shot. And this is a most difficult spare. Pin numbers in this setup are the 1, 2, 8 and 9. And there's 2 ways to go for this spare. That's one of them. The other one was to hit the left side of the 1 pin, but he won't be pleased with that.
So the completion of the 5th frame, the score stood at 128 to 91, a 37-pin advantage to Queensland's David Hardy.
That looks good. Well, some of you might be thinking that that's a put-on, but I have seen him bowl in tournaments and he does it all the time. It's just his way of getting the tension out of his body. It's certainly intimidating to the opponent, I'm sure. Have a look at it again.
Yes, I'll be staying well clear of him, that's for sure.
You wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley.
No wonder he's been so successful in Western Australia. I don't think any of the sandgropers at home would want to beat him, would they?
Well, it's put the opposition off. It had the desired result. 34 pins the difference now. He's cut the lead by 3 with that strike. And David Hardy, Terry, is in the wars all of a sudden.
Yes, he is again. He's lost his momentum. Steve can pick himself up again. He has that ability to be able to psych himself up just with the slightest bit of anything that goes right for him. It'll just work great.
It's at the end of the 6th. 145 plays 111 with David Hardy in front. But Steve Windbridge with the strike to build on in the 7th. And David Hardy now at the top of the 8th. Following on his spare in the 7th frame. Looks good. Good comeback by David Hardy. Just when the momentum had gone slightly after that great start.
Yes, that was an excellent shot. Good carry on the pins. 6-pin took the 10 out of play. And Steve Windbridge now with a chance on these 2 shots to set up a very close encounter in the 10th frame. Lane 12, the nemesis of all of the bowlers so far. If we'd bowled the tournament just on lane 11, I think the averages would be a lot higher than they are. We're averaging about 190 in the men's division, about 193 or so in the women's division. That'll make all the ladies happy.
So Steve Windbridge for his spare in the 8th. Well done.
That cameraman would want danger money when Steve's on the approach.
Yes, he wouldn't have to do much training, I don't think, away from the lanes. He racks up plenty of kilometres during a match, doesn't he?
Well, during a tournament, you walk quite a long way and throw a lot of poundage down there.
So over he goes to lane 11. Desperately needing a strike here, and it looks good. It is.
He's disappeared. Pity help the league bowlers here at Logan City Lanes. 7 lanes, he said. Let's have another look. Singing Mammy. Al Jolson style.
Might get a job with Torval and Dean when he's finished his bowling career, actually.
He keeps on riding them like that, he may not last much longer. Can't do the knees too much good. Oh, boy.
And that brings applause from Steve Windbridge. Fine strike by David Hardy.
One of the first times we've seen an opponent watch the other person bowl, and Steve Windbridge knows that that's a winning strike. And full marks to David Hardy for overcoming very tough opposition so far. And Steve knows it.
And yet another one.
We've finally got a big game out of these great bowlers, and this one is going to be a great game. Potential of 255. He's in the 240s already.
His 8th strike of the match.
And that was his best strike of the match. Have another look at this pin action here.
And his second 4-bagger of the match, in fact, I think, Steve, if we have a look back on his scorecard.
That's correct. 2 4-baggers, 8 strikes. Will this be 9? He's in the 250s.
Strike. Tremendous bowling by David Hardy of Queensland to end with 255. Great performance. Brings applause from the crowd. But I think we also have to say that not only has it been great bowling by David Hardy that's brought the crowd to life, it's been the flamboyant style of his opponent, Steve Windbridge. It's brought out the best in the crowd, and it's certainly brought out the best of David Hardy to produce a great match. And now Steve Windbridge from Western Australia, who's already endeared himself to this crowd, to bowl out the game. What a way to do it.
Great stuff. If looks could kill, the pins wouldn't even come down again. "21 years of age. This man's going to go a long way in 10-pin bowling. Crowd geeing him up for another strike. As we've seen so often in the women's tournament, a cold 9-pin coming up on lane 12. Nothing going anywhere near it.
Picks up his spare, waves to the crowd, finishes with a 200 game. Probably good enough to have won most of the games so far of this tournament, but he's been beaten by 55 pins in a great performance by David Hardy. Steve Windbridge finishes in 7th place. Steve, you check. I think you'd probably need that. You must just about go through a pair of shoes in the amount of miles you'll rack up during every game, but well bowled.
Thanks very much, John. I usually go through a few pairs a week.
Well, it was. You certainly put a lot of life into this tournament, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Steve Windbridge from Western Australia, but David Hardy goes on his winning way. This is becoming a little bit monotonous, David.
It is, yeah. It's a nice habit, though. I'd like to keep it up.
Well, what a great performance there with the 4-bagger to start and then that 4-bagger at the end. You can't do much more.
No, I had a couple of lucky breaks in the first one. Steve was a bit unlucky, but, well, that's the way it goes.
Well, with Steve, with his confidence up and with the crowd behind you, that brought out the best in you, no doubt.
Yeah, I like to think it did. Might have got me back up a little bit and bowled a little bit better.
We'll see you back in the next round, and that's against Queensland's Tom Curry. But the next game that we'll be bringing you on Nine's Wide World of Sport in the Coca-Cola Classic will be a tremendous game in the women's tournament. It's between Jo Ellen Day, the youngster from Queensland who's going so well, but she comes up against her toughest opponent, probably the best lady bowler that this country has produced in Jeanette Baker-Flynn from Victoria. You'll see it soon on Nine's Wide World of Sports.